This is Robert, and for 20 years he was stuck on a real estate team, grinding, earning way less than his full income potential.
The people that know me, they did not want to do business with me, so I had to then join a team, and I remained part of that team for about 20 years.
The only thing holding him back was fear. Fear from going out on his own and building a business as a solo agent.
Honestly, the word I'm going to use is I was scared. I had enough reserves for about 8 months to be on my own without like doing one transaction. And if I wouldn't just come across your platform or jump and go into it, I probably would, within 6-8 months, I would probably have, be forced to go back to join another team, find another kind of job.
And then 2 years ago, he took a leap of faith and decided to work with me as his coach. And that's when everything changed. Today, he's a multi-six-figure listing agent with freedom and time for what's most important, his family.
This year, my goal was 200 GCI. Year to date, closed 175 GCI. And I have 3 listings coming up. The once I close those 3 listings, I'll get to the 200 GCI. And this is not having to kill myself where a buyer on Zillow says, I want to see this house on Sunday at 7 p.m. that it's an hour away from my house. No, I don't have to do that anymore.
And so in this video, I'm going to break down the exact steps that Robert took to get these results so that you can simply copy them to produce those results for yourself. And if you want to go even deeper on the strategies that I'm going to introduce you to in just a second, I made a 60-minute masterclass where I go in depth on how to build a multi-six-figure listing agent business without buying leads, without posting cringy content on the internet, without begging your friends and family for referrals. If you want access to that, it's 100% free. There's a link in the description to get started. And so the first thing that Robert and I had to figure out when we started working together was his lead generation. So when we looked at the different options and how we were actually going to build his business, keep in mind, there's only 6 ways to grow a real estate sales business, as you know. So when we looked at, first off, his sphere of influence and his past client, yes, he was in this business for 20 years. But when you look at, okay, how am I going to get business from past clients and people that I know? And you start to reach out to them, there's a part of you that feels a little bit needy, a little bit desperate, where you're begging them for referrals, or if you know anybody, keep my name in the back of your mind. All that kind of stuff is fine. It can work if you do enough of it. But the issue with that is it's not predictable. It's not like there's a specific number of conversations that would lead to a listing appointment, et cetera, et cetera. And so when we looked at a sphere of influence, yes, we were going to put a system in place to capitalize on those relationships, but we couldn't bet on it. So that was kind of out. Well, when we looked at the next option, which is unpaid inbound, the problem with this is it just simply takes too long. And for Robert, he didn't have years and years and years and years when he left the real estate team in order to start generating business, probably like a lot of you that are watching this video right now. The problem with unpaid inbound lead generation, things like, making a YouTube channel, or things like doing Instagram lead magnets, or Instagram DM lead magnets, or making a blog, or anything that requires you to make tons of content for a long period of time to build an audience, to build trust, to build rapport, so much so that content actually turns into clients where you're selling houses and getting paid. It just takes a long time. Anybody who is doing any of that, maybe you know somebody, maybe you don't, they would tell you it takes a minimum of 12 months before that type of strategy starts to pay the bills. Well, for Robert and for a lot of other agents, he just didn't have that type of time. All right, fine. So when we look at the next option, which is paid inbound, again, like most realtors, he didn't have this huge budget to go out there and to do radio and billboards and buy leads and do all the things that his team was doing to generate leads. As a solo agent, he didn't have the budget to do that, nor did he want to have that type of business model, because maybe you know this too. most paid marketing or paid lead generation gets you what type of opportunities? Be honest. More buyers. It's more working nights and weekends. It's more chasing people around. It's more of the business that I think most agents, if they're being real honest, don't really want more of if they had to choose. So that was not an option for Robert. And so what did we do? Well, the first thing that we did is we put in an unpaid outbound lead generation strategy that put him in the driver's seat, where he was able to control how much lead generation he did, which allowed him to control how much money he made. That's number one. Number two, the reason why we put an unpaid outbound lead system into his business is it was all focused on listings where he could control his time. And then number three, with this approach, which I'm going to show you in just a second, it allowed him to get into production extremely quickly, to where he was listing $1 million a month in new listing revenue every single month within just a few months of us working together. So that was the first system. The second system was referral partners. So part of our unpaid outbound approach was going after probates. And so in doing so, Robert also started to build relationships with probate attorneys so that when those people have a case and they have a piece of real estate that needs to be sold within inside of a probate case, Robert could be the go-to agent. And then lastly, the third pillar of lead generation was paid outbound. So once we had revenue starting to come in from these two sources, unpaid outbound, referral partners, we put some of that capital into paid outbound, where he started to bring on some ISAs who started to do some of the cold outreach on behalf of Robert's behalf and started to get a little bit of leverage and some scale inside of his lead generation. It has to feel, you have to feel a sense of confidence that, to your point, whether or not you and I work together for the rest of your career as me as your coach or not, the skills you now have, what you're able to do and the way you're able to generate business on your own without buying leads, without having to rely on a team, without a big ad budget. How does that feel?
Oh, it's amazing. It's something that I never thought I would be able to achieve, to be honest with you. I thought that when coaches tell you that things like this happen, all these cases that you people talk about it, I thought like that cannot be doable. I mean, you have to buy Zillow leads, you have to buy Realtor.com leads, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do a lot of things. But in reality, it's not the case. All you have to do is to have the discipline, and this is a really good word. It's discipline, guys. If you're not disciplined, you're not consistent, it's not going to work. I can tell you that right now. The compound effect of being disciplined to making these phone calls and staying in touch and following up, it will eventually pay you off, guys. It will really put money in your pocket. And look, after 2023 left my previous team, 2024, 2025, I will achieve my 200K GCI this year. Within weeks, I will be in my 200. And this is not having to kill myself, where a buyer on Zillow says, I want to see this house on Sunday at 7 p.m. that it's an hour away from my house. No, I don't have to do that anymore. As a matter of fact, this past Sunday, I was home with my kids. I was just off. I didn't do anything. I was home with the kids, enjoying watching some games. My oldest had a soccer game in the morning. I was with them. Before, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So now as a listing agent, not only are you able to earn the income that you want, but now you have the work-life balance, the lifestyle that you want, where you could be home at nights and weekends with the kids. Is that fair?
That is fair. Fair enough. Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's break down the business even more granular. Okay. So, and then you guys will open this up for the live audience in just a second. You guys can ask Robert anything you guys want. Okay. So when it comes to lead generation for you right now, what lead sources are you working?
So right now, I am doing probate, I am doing expires, and I'm doing downsizers, and we're doing circle prospecting around all of our listings. Now, I will say this: I did hire an ISA that does a lot of my circle prospecting right now. So she only qualifies a lot of these people and brings them to me after doing the circle prospecting. She's been trained on your system, by the way. She actually knows your script for circle prospecting, and she's very good. So she's doing that for me. So that is adding more, and she just started in September. So that's adding a lot more things to my pipeline. Simple. I don't really have any sophisticated tools. Vulcan 7 to make the phone calls. My Plus leads, and then with her, I have follow up boss, and then we use Trello to have different stages of the pipeline where things are, and a Slack for communication. That's it. I don't really have anything that is complicated in Google, so I don't buy the shiny thing that it tells you that will generate, because it's not true. You just have to go out there and do the work. I always tell people, like, being in sales, and especially in real estate, it's like surfing, right? The surfers go to where the waves are every morning. They bring their board, they have waxed their board, they have their stuff, and they just go and ride the waves as they come. Some days are going to be good waves, some other days are going to be bad waves, but guess what? They always show up to ride those waves.
It's a great point. I love it. Okay, so I want the audience to understand, Robert. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to build my business primarily going after listings, and I'm going to do it with outbound lead generation because I want high profit and high control over my income. But it's another thing to be able to actually make that work, because it's not easy, to your point. Beyond just being able to mentally and emotionally pick up the phone, show up every day, as you put it, with a disciplined, focused attitude, the skills matter a lot. Like when you are actually in conversation, you've been in sales for 20, 25 years. What are some of the things that you and I, that you've learned through the work that we've done together over the last 2 years that have helped you actually have good, meaningful conversation that is helping you get so many listing leads?
So the one thing that is worth whatever you charge for your training and coaching is the pattern interrupt. That is the thing that is made me a lot of money, because it's one thing, as I said, hey, I'm Robert Garcia. I saw your house came off the market. I was wondering when you're going to be interviewing the following real estate agent. It has no sense, has no meaning. It's just like, I sound just like anybody else, versus like, hey, Bob, this is Robert. Look, I'll be upfront. I'm a realtor. And before you hang up, I was hoping to ask you something really quick. Will that be okay? And then like, sure. Or, before you throw the phone off out of the window, I want to ask you something. Don't hate me. Those things, they really, really, really gets people attention. And some people even laugh sometimes, like, no, I won't hate you. I said, okay, great. And then, we get to the point. So that pattern interrupt, it's amazing. It's probably the best thing that it is part of what you do. And on top of other things, that's the number one thing here that people should really memorize, all the ones that are in the book, because it's important.
Awesome. Okay, so pattern interrupt, obviously that's important. What about setting appointments? So once you're having a good conversation with somebody and you've uncovered their motivation, you understand, okay, this person has motivation to sell. You've got timelines on when they want to do it. You find out, yes, they are actually open to interviewing an agent. How do you navigate that conversation to get these people to invite you to come to their home? Can you share with us anything that you've learned about appointment setting and the language?
Sure. So, we have the dart, the desire, the ability, the reason, and the time. And people always have, if those things are all combined, then you'll get an appointment. If one of them, it's not, so it's timing, the motivation, and all those things. In none of those things. So I always have to go those, layers deeper to understand their motivation. And it happens the same with people. I recently had a case with this guy wanted to hire me, but he was being a jerk. Like, he gave me an appointment to go to one place to another appointment. Definitely, he has no motivation. He wanted to list his house, has no motivation. I fired myself from working with this guy. I said, hey, listen, I'm not the right guy. I cannot meet your expectations. I wish you the best. So I think you really need to understand is that working in this environment is, you got to get to the motivation. If you don't get to the motivation, it doesn't matter what you do. I don't know. You can ask 100 questions. If they have no motivation, they're not going to move. They're not going to do anything. And you'll be, they're just going to disappear at some point. So go through the motivation. And that's one of the things that I always tell people, that just to be, honest with when prospecting and working in sales.
No doubt, no doubt. And you're spot on. And so it's like, get to the motivation, because this is the only way that you're going to get paid, so you don't become a very low, if not unpaid consultant, right? Where you just don't, you just run around meeting with people, but you never actually get paid to do anything. All right. The second system that we had to put in place was lead conversion. And this is a big thing that Robert and I talked about when I interviewed him. And that is that most agents, if we're being honest, maybe you are struggling with this as well. You get to the point where you can generate leads on a consistent basis, like that no longer becomes the constraint in the business. And then the constraint is, okay, I've got these leads, I'm having these conversations, I have consistent lead flow. They're just not turning into enough in-person, face-to-face appointments. So this whole period of time where, generating a lead, from generating a lead to setting an appointment, this was a big hole that Robert and I had to work through in order to get him in front of enough what I would call ideal prospects, people that A, are sellers, B, that are motivated, C, that would actually price it right so that the property would actually sell, just not the wannabe sellers. And there was a system that we had to put in place so that on a consistent basis, Robert was getting in front of enough people every single week that he never had to worry about, okay, where's my next client going to come from? Where's my next commission check going to come from? All right, so let's shift to lead follow-up. What's the importance and what have you learned over 20 years of doing this on how important lead follow-up is? Because I think it's still a huge, huge thing that most agents struggle with.
So generating the lead is probably 20% of the Pareto is the 80-20. Generating the lead is probably 20% of that. Staying in touch and following up with these people, that's a whole nother thing. So in my experience, based on the transactions for this year, on my 8th touch, whether it was a phone call, a piece of mail, a text message, it's when they gave me the opportunity to meet with them. So 8 touches is my average in order for me to gain an appointment with someone that is kind of like, I don't know if I wanted to do. So my calendar in the mornings, I come at the office, drop off my kids 8:15 to 10:15, it's lead generation. And then from 11 to 12, it's lead follow-up. And that's when I follow up with everybody that it's on my database, that it's on my CRM, that I need to touch base and just check with them. And, the follow-up, it's a phone call, it's a text message. And, I have added some other things, of course. We have all these beautiful things that you guys have put together. I will say, though, that having a nice package where I can deliver something sometimes is really good. And I even created some boxes that I use that are look like really nice when I can drop off, and it has some information inside that I can bring with a QR code. They can scan and go to a landing page so they can understand what I do. Have 2 different sizes of these things that I use. So it's important to stay in touch and just be different.
Are you using Mailbox Power for those assets?
I am not. No, we have here our own marketing thing that they handle it for us. So I am not using them. They're a great company. I like them a lot. It's just that we have some people here that can help us with that, and that's kind of what we're using, and it's working, and it's all tracked in my CRM, what postcard went out, when I need to follow up, and all those things. So you really, really, really have to follow up with these people, and the money is in the follow up. You hear a lot of people say that. They're not joking. They're not wasting time. It is true. If you don't follow up with them, I have lost so many opportunities because I forgot to follow up, to stay in touch with someone, and that's on me. So I say I never ever again have a CRM, and the follow-ups will go there, and I will do my best. And the same thing, as everybody knows, if they tell you follow up with me in 6 months, well, do it in 3, because things do change. And if you do it in 6 months, most likely they're already listed with somebody else. So one of the things that using the mailer system that you have is because it's a great thing that you can continue to drip on this. So right now I have 193 leads that I am dripping information to them, because guess what? At some point pretty soon, I will, get an opportunity. Recently, and this is a side note, this is more that my dad is a contractor and wanted to do some flipping investment in properties. And through cold calling, I found a flipping house for us to flip that is going to go on the market this week. So it's just a lot of opportunities that come through this process that you just never know.
Yeah, no doubt. And so I agree with you 100%. I've always told people, if you are not going to follow up or you don't have a lead follow-up system that is organized, you might as well not even prospect, because the amount of appointments and leads and opportunities you're going to get from just doing prospecting once in a while off the first contact is so low that you will just constantly live on that hamster wheel and you'll always feel like you're spinning your wheels. And so once we solve the lead generation issue where he felt comfortable off the team, like, okay, I've got enough leads to work. After we put the lead conversion system in place and we're getting in front of enough ideal prospects, the third system that we had to work on is, okay, what happens when I actually get in front of somebody who has real motivation to do something? In other words, when I go and meet with somebody and they're interviewing me to get their property on the market and actually get it sold, how am I going to handle that conversation such that, A, I am the obvious choice? So I have to have what I call a compelling listing presentation that wins clients. And here's the thing. It's not just winning listings for the sake of winning listings, but it's winning listings with the right clientele. It's winning listings that have a property that is saleable, number one. Number two, you're winning listings without having to cut your commission. You're winning listings with sellers that are actually motivated to sell. You're winning listings with people that actually are going to price it correctly, not just test the market. And so Robert, to be fair to him, he put a lot of work into this compelling listing presentation that I asked him to learn because for 20 years he was doing it a certain way. And so after putting in this new presentation, he's able to win listings with what he would call his dream clients. So let's move from lead follow-up now to the listing appointment. So, all of these things are important. We talked about lead generation. We talked about lead follow-up. Now let's talk about when we actually go and sit down with somebody whose business that potentially we want, and how do we win that listing? You've been doing this a long time. I know I've thrown a lot at you in the time that you and I are working together. I've asked you to learn a brand new listing presentation, even though you probably were doing it a certain way for a long period of time. Are there certain things that you have learned through the work that we've done together that's helping you to win dream clients and great listings?
Yeah, the upfront agreement is the most important thing. Knowing everything in your presentation, it's important. But the upfront agreement has actually made me money, and of course, just there was one I will never have done before that without this prior to your coaching, where I will just understand that somebody was the intention. It was not to work with me. Their intention was only to validate what another real estate agent told them. And then they already have made a decision to go to that other person. I had an appointment where I told the guy, I said, hey, if at the end of the meeting, we don't like each other, you'll be honest. You'll tell me, right? And the guy says, well, I'll be honest. He says, since you're a straight shooter, I'll be very honest with you up front. I do have somebody else that I interviewed and I like him a lot. I know him. And he's has told me the same price. So I think I'm going to work with that person and not with you. And, I tried to see if I can convince him, but it was too late. But as you said, when do I want to know that? Now, up front,
Right.
at the very beginning. I don't want to know. I could have done an entire hour and a half appointment and just for the guy to say, okay, I'll call you later. He will never call me. So the upfront agreement, it's very, very important that you guys know that you work with you upfront agreement, because that's when you're going to really understand if you're in front of a valid listing appointment or just somebody that's just kind of testing you. Now, think about it. Once you've gone into a listing appointment and you have done so many touches, that means people have been receiving your material. Sometimes, Brandon, not always, but sometimes they are so overwhelmed with the stuff they're receiving. They're like, okay, where do we sign? Don't even come. Just send me the stuff through DocuSign and we'll do it electronically because you're convinced us. But when you have to go and meet with them, you got to be very careful. So I know you haven't asked me, but I am averaging about 1.5 listing appointment per week right now. That is my average. And of that, I'm taking 2 per month right now.
It's amazing. That's great. And what is your average price point in your market?
$595 with a 2.75% commission.
So you're taking $1 million worth of listings every month.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, that's just, again, it's got to be, it's got to make you, your wife, and everyone feel really, really comfortable with that decision to leave that team a couple of years ago. So now,
I should have done it before, way long time ago. I should have done it before.
Yeah, and fear keeps us from doing stuff, right? But hindsight's always 20/20. So if you want to take a deeper dive into all of these tactics, all of these strategies that you heard about inside of this video, again, there's a free masterclass in the link below where I walk you through this. It's about a 60-minute training video where I walk you through this in great detail on how to generate leads, how to convert the leads. You're going to walk away with a specific action plan after going through this free training. If you want that, again, it's 100% free. There's a link to that in the description. And if you want to see another agent who is winning at the highest level, who's built a predictable, profitable listing agent business, you can watch this video next.